Welcome to the Nervous System Care and Healing Podcast, where we talk about how to take care of ourselves in mind, in body, in spirit, while we navigate systems that were designed to keep us dysregulated. I'm your host, Liz, a neurodivergent therapist of color, and I'm really glad that you're here. In this first episode, I'm going to define some key terms and lay the foundation for what this podcast is about. We're going to talk about how to regulate the nervous system and why self-care and collective care are both equally important parts of this conversation. Let's start with what is the nervous system? The nervous system is a very complex network of nerves and cells that connect the brain and the spinal cord to the rest of the body. The nervous system transmits messages between different parts of the body. So it's responsible for a lot of internal communication, information processing, sensory processing, and our general reactions to the environment and to our life experiences. And the nervous system impacts how we experience memory, our own thoughts, emotions and sensations in the body. It's responsible for our fight or flight survival responses and for the rest and digest response. It controls automatic processes that we don't even have to think about, like breathing, digestion, heart rate, and motor control. When we're talking about the nervous system, we're referring to the entire wiring that holds our human experience together. It is the mind-body experience interconnected. What does nervous system regulation mean? The nervous system moves through states of regulation and dysregulation. So you can be regulated or dysregulated at any given moment, and your nervous system state can shift from one minute to the next. It's not supposed to stay the same all the time. When we're regulated, it means that we're able to be present with the experience of right now. Regulation doesn't necessarily mean calm or happy. It means presence, connection, responsiveness. When we're dysregulated, it means that the experience is too overwhelming, too overstimulating to be present with. And so we're not able to be fully here. Instead, we might feel disconnected or highly anxious or dissociated. Dysregulation is not a bad thing, it is just information. Another way to understand this is through the window of tolerance. When we're inside our window of tolerance, our nervous systems are regulated. We can tolerate the present moment and be here. We go in and out of our window. So if we leave our window of tolerance, it means that we've become dysregulated, that it no longer feels safe to be present, or something is overwhelming or overstimulating the nervous system. What determines whether your nervous system is regulated or dysregulated? The answer, in a nutshell, is safety. When your brain and body perceive that you're safe or safe enough, that's when you feel regulated. When our nervous systems are regulated, we can think clearly, see things clearly, connect with ourselves and others. We have neurological access to logic and reason. Whereas if your brain and body perceive that there is a threat to your safety, whether that's a physical, emotional, or social threat, that's when we might become dysregulated and dissociate from the present moment because it doesn't feel safe. The nervous system might shift into one of its many survival responses, like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. The most important note here is that we're not here to grade our nervous systems. We don't get a trophy for being regulated, and this isn't something that we need to compete with ourselves or others with, because it's actually very natural to become dysregulated at times. It's very human. Nervous system dysregulation is simply a sign that something is happening that we're paying attention to that is causing us to have this reaction. The goal is not to be regulated all the time because number one, that's just not realistic. No one feels the same way or feels good all the time. And it also doesn't make sense to be regulated all of the time. It is really healthy to feel a range of emotions. And experiencing the whole spectrum of calm and anger and joy and grief and everything in between is the human experience. So our goal is to actually build a flexible nervous system that can move in and out of the window of tolerance as is appropriate to the situation. That is what I really want to highlight as our goal. Not to be regulated all the time, but to build flexibility in our nervous systems. The analogy I like to offer is a rubber band. A rubber band can stay in its original shape and size, or it can stretch to accommodate whatever object it is stretching around. A flexible nervous system is like a really stretchy rubber band that doesn't break. It can expand to multiple times its size, or it can shrink to its original size. And in that same way, our nervous systems can move along the spectrum of being regulated or dysregulated, inside the window of tolerance, outside the window, and then coming back. And we can come back to our window over and over again when we're flexible. That movement and that stretchiness is its own skill. Now, you might be wondering, how do I build flexibility in the nervous system? The first step is to actually know your nervous system inside and out. If you can recognize when you're feeling dysregulated in the moment, then you can take care of yourself and bring yourself back into the window of tolerance through intentional strategies and nervous system skills. So there are two types of dysregulation. One is hyperarousal, and the other is hypoarousal. Hyperarousal feels overwhelming, while hypoarousal feels underwhelming. Hyperarousal is about hitting the gas pedal. It's a fast energy, and I associate it with the element of fire. It's hot, it's in motion, it moves quickly. You might feel anxiousness, panic, racing thoughts that move too quickly for your brain to process in real time, heart beating really fast, sweating, muscles tensing up like they're gearing up to fight something or to flee from something. Essentially, the body is mobilizing in a state of hypervigilance to survive, to get away from the perceived threat. Hypoarousal is the other type of dysregulation, and this is all about hitting the brakes. This is a slower energy, it has a frozen quality to it, and I associate it with the element of ice or snow. In a state of hypoarousal, you might feel emotionally numb, depressed, really low energy, and dissociated from everything, not really here. You might experience brain fog or thoughts moving slower than your typical processing speed. Or you might feel a sense of helplessness or internal collapse or even shame, a sense of wanting to hide yourself from others, not be seen. This happens when the brain and body perceive that there is a threat to safety, but that fighting or fleeing are not options. So it numbs out instead. These are examples of what dysregulation can feel like. These are some of the signs, but they are not all of the signs. So I want you to notice which signs are most familiar to yourself, to your nervous system. And that is your first step to building more flexibility, simply knowing your own map, understanding where your system goes when you're dysregulated. Next, I want to share some sensory soothing strategies that we can use to come back into the window of tolerance and regulate ourselves. I'll share a list of ideas based on the 5 senses and see which ones feel helpful to you or which ones you're already doing. I'll start with sight, the eyes. So maybe you adjust the lighting in your environment in order to regulate yourself. Maybe you need to brighten the lighting or you need to dim it. Another idea is to visually scan the space that you're in and to let your eyes land on your favorite color. If I were outside right now, I would probably be looking at and focusing on the blueness of the sky. If I'm inside, maybe I'd let my eyes land on my orange cat because I find the color of her fur very soothing to look at. These are just some examples. Next, let's go to sound, the ears. To regulate, maybe you go to a quiet space or listen to your favorite song with noise-canceling headphones. With smell, maybe you inhale a scent that you find really pleasing, like a soap, an essential oil, fresh laundry, an aromatic plant, or tea leaves. I like to think about how our senses are a very direct pathway to the nervous system. Just smelling something nice can really shift the way we feel in that moment. Next, there's touch. Anything you can feel with your hands or other body parts. You can stroke a soft blanket, put on a comfy sweater. Put a weighted pillow or blanket in your lap. You might hold an object that grounds you, like a stone, a stress ball, a fidget that you can squeeze, or you can hold a warm mug. You can also physically connect with elements of nature that you find soothing. You can feel the sun warming your skin. Take a full breath of fresh air. Go to a body of water near you and feel the water on your hands and feet. Another way to sensory soothe is through movement. Any movement that feels good for you. You can stretch your arms and legs, adjust your positioning in your seat or in your bed. You can go on a walk, a hike. You can dance, shake, sway your body. Really ask yourself what your body would be doing right now, what you'd want to be doing if no one were watching you. Because that's some pretty good information about how your nervous system needs to stim, how you release or move energy, especially beyond the typical social rules that so many of us feel confined to. There is also this whole category of co-regulation. We don't only need to rely on self-regulation, things we do alone. We can also be with others and experience their nervous systems regulating alongside ours. It's like humming to the same tune together or dancing to the same rhythm. And co-regulation is the reason why when you talk to someone who feels calm, who's really grounded, you start to feel calmer and more grounded too. You can cuddle with your pet. That's a type of co-regulation, especially if you don't always feel comfortable around other humans, or you don't have many people in your life yet that you feel safe to unmask around. If you do feel safe to connect with another human being, spend time with other people who make you feel seen and heard. This can be via a phone call, a Zoom call, or in person. You can be sitting in a coffee shop and feeling the presence of others, even if you don't know their names. There are a lot of possibilities for co-regulation, and that could be its own never-ending list and episode in and of itself. Now that we've covered some ideas for nervous system care, I want to acknowledge what may be the elephant in the room, which is that we can't actually talk about nervous system regulation without also talking about the world that we are living in right now. It is 2026, and among what is happening is a lot of injustice and oppression in all corners of the world, as well as a lot of resistance and movement building. The point is, the state of the world is impacting every single one of us to varying degrees, whether you are experiencing injustice and oppression directly or witnessing it. If your nervous system response to the world right now is to feel angry, to feel grief, sadness, rage, or to shut down, numb out, dissociate, not feel anything at all. Any and all of that makes so much sense, especially in the context of whatever identities, social locations, and particularly any marginalized identities that you may hold, visible or invisible. It is a very natural response to become dysregulated, to feel under-resourced. And it's really important that we not pathologize ourselves and that we not judge our own reactions to the collective traumas that we are living through right now. To experience dysregulation, like profound overwhelm or a deep shutdown, is actually a sign of our humanness. It's a sign that we're paying attention and our system is responding in the best way that it knows how. So please don't be really hard on yourself if you've been feeling less than perfectly regulated as of late. I don't want us to tell ourselves, I should be over this already, or I shouldn't be so overwhelmed or angry or grieving, when in fact, our nervous systems do not exist in a bubble. Our nervous systems exist within the entire context of our lives and the systems of oppression that shape this world in 2026, like colonization, capitalism, all of the isms, the list goes on. These are systems that were designed to keep us fractured, disconnected, and disempowered. And if you are feeling dysregulated, it means the systems are working exactly as designed. But, and here is the good part, as long as we are taking care of our nervous systems, building flexibility, we can make sure that we don't get forever stuck in dysregulation. Because dysregulation is absolutely an appropriate response, but it doesn't have to be our forever fixed state of being. We can learn tools, gain skills, and co-regulate with community, and that can help us come back into our window of tolerance over and over again. We always have a home to come back to in ourselves. I'll note here, too, that the window of tolerance is also referred to as the window of capacity, because when we are regulated, we have capacity to be in this world, to exist, and to contribute to building a better world using the skills and resources available to each of us. Ultimately, nervous system regulation is about a balance between the individual care, the collective care, and systemic change. Individual care asks, how do you take care of yourself? Collective care is asking, how do we take care of each other? And systemic change asks, how do we transform systems of oppression into systems of care? How do we build a world where liberation and safety are available for all beings? Because if systems of oppression were to cease to exist, if I had a magic wand and I waved it and then there's no more oppression, we wouldn't actually need all of these self-care tools and strategies and techniques to stay afloat, because we would have actually addressed the bleeding of the wound at its source rather than way downstream. Nervous system care is a multi-part puzzle. It's a multi-step equation. And this podcast is about holding the individual nuances of each unique nervous system and seeing the big picture. It's like switching between a microscope view and a bird's eye view. I hope that you'll tune in for ongoing episodes each week where we'll unpack how to take care of ourselves as we navigate these systems, because none of us were meant to do this alone, which is why I created this podcast. And whoever you are, wherever you are in the world, you are very much welcome here. All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Nervous System Care and Healing podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. And if you ever have a few minutes to leave a rating and review, it would mean so much to me, and it helps other people to find the podcast and spread the care. Please remember that this podcast is not a replacement for therapy, coaching, or professional mental health services. The information shared here is generalized, it may not reflect every individual nuance, and it should not be interpreted as personalized mental health advice. So please do seek out additional support if you need it. Take care and be well. This is Liz at Nervous System Care and Healing.